Alright then. You have seen me play Majin War from start to finish, with basically everything there was basically to show off for this game. And for the most part, it's a very small game, not really much to show off. But this game here I'm showing off today is much different. This game here is Rage Magic 2, the continuation of Majin War. So, Rage Magic 2 is a continuation of Majin War, an epic fantasy fighting adventure featuring devastating combos, huge super attacks, and exciting new power-ups. It's available for Windows NT, 2K, XP, Mac OS X, and Linux. Alright, so, this is basically a game from 2006, and I believe at this time Steam was actually starting to, throw stuff basically online, but we're still basically in the early days of, online, sales for games. And I have to say that, I basically have sort of how can I put this? It's sort of pains me to say that I never actually paid any money for this game. And I'll get into the story behind it, but we'll basically, cover up a few things here. So, I will note that basically there's high scores for this game. And I'll note basically go to this, this right here, obviously see that, I am basically on the high scores for the arcade winners. And if you basically go into depth here, you can basically go to the arcade horse his scores, and you'll see I basically have free entries basically here of the 24. I never actually got very high in the scores because it's never actually really going for scores, but you get the idea. You'll note basically the first one here, DFuxa. I'll note the time here. It's basically July 7th, 23rd, 2006. So just to sort of note this time here. Note that if you basically look at any of the other times basically listed on this high score sheet, you note that this is basically the first one. So this is sort of throw it out there. I was basically one of the first people to basically play and win this game, and get myself on the high scores. But this for the most part win this game for the most part. Also note, there's also the arena high scores, and again I'm basically on these as well because I played it. So there's my arena high score, my first one right there. Never actually played through the arena more once, so whatever. Alright, so to tell you a little bit about Rage Magic 2 and my interaction with it. So Rage Magic 2 is basically the sequel to Majin War, and I have to say that I very much enjoyed this game. And I basically got this game via a friend of the developer, who basically sent me an early access demo to his game, or so he thought. So here's what basically happened with this game here when the developer basically sent it to me. Basically back in 2006, the developer basically sent me his game to sort of test out for him, and I could basically see the demo and see how I basically play and stuff like that. But the thing is, he never actually put a sort of halt to his demo, and he actually ended up giving me the full game for his game. And so I was actually able to play all the way from start to finish. Yeah, I actually played through his entire game as opposed to a demo of his game, so to speak, which is probably not what was intended, but oh well, he got a beta user out of it, I guess. And I will say that for most part, I guess the only helpful tip I guess he gave to the developer was that his final boss might have been a little too strong. We'll basically get to that when we basically fight the final bosses, but yeah, that's the only real helpful advice I basically could tell him. But anyhow, so I never actually paid any money for this game because the developer basically sent me the demo, and I was basically not under no obligation to send him money for it, right? So there's that. Yeah, I know that sounds sad, but note that I didn't have a credit card back then, so it's not if I need to to pay someone I didn't really want to, so I didn't really have the means to unless I asked someone, so whatever. The sad reality of things and stuff like that. Alright, so Rage Magic 2. Let's just sort of go through this homepage here because there's a little bit more basically to see. So basically there's the about page, downloads, full version, stuff like that. Let's see whether these links basically work. I know a lot of these links basically they don't work because it's basically out of date, but whatever. So initially Rage Magic 2, it basically did have a bunch of releases on Windows, Mac, and web browser. Note that the original Majin War is basically available on Windows 95 and 98, But because of like changes to like Rage Magic 2, the developer couldn't actually release it on like those older platforms. So you had to basically have like XP and up for the most part to basically play in like this game. Or I guess like it's like Windows 2000. I can't really remember, but whatever. You'll note that basically there's also a change in resolution. So unlike the 512 by 384 resolution, that's basically like Imagine War. This one actually has the standard 640 by 480. So hooray for that. It has like tutorials. It has like balance. Note that basically right here, like the balance for like the dragon. The dragon is basically like the sort of end boss, I think, that's being like noted here. Maybe it's CERN over here. But basically, there's been like balance to like some like one of the characters we play, Lucette. Balance to like the dragon. Balance to like CERN, which I think is like the end boss. All right, so full version probably won't get anything from this, but we'll see. I'll notice some of these links don't work, right? So yeah, like there's nothing basically here. So there's a Fangear store online trial because again, this is basically like you can play like an online trial before jumping into like the game itself. So yeah, this game requires Java installed on your computer. If you can't get it to work, try the downloadable version. It's full screen and faster anyway. Remember, if you enjoy playing this and want more fighting action, you can get the full version. So initially he wanted to basically send me the trial developer, but he sent me the full version, so that happened. There's all the like keys and stuff like that, but we don't really need those, so we'll skip those for now. There's to contact us. So basically, there was an online forum, and like there was, as you can see, a website here. I'll note that like all of this stuff is basically defunct, as well as like Game Brew and even Arcade Town is basically defunct. Ah, yes, the good old days. All right, so let's go to features here. So, Rage Magic 2, 100 two-player arena levels full of bosses. 3 to 5 arcade mode levels with intriguing storyline. Compete with World with online hit scores, which you already saw. Full and half-screen super attacks. Bonus pickup Rage, Protection, Refractor, and Resurrection and more. Hire your own allies and bonuses for the arena, auto-blocking and block advancing. Counter-attacks and super counter-attacks. Resistant attacks, combo attacks, and super combo attacks. Extra modes and features like fight shows and gallery. 2-player joystick support, Windows only. Full screen action-packed adventure, big and mean boss characters with one final boss. That's actually incorrect, by the way, but whatever. So there's pickup bonuses like before, but now we have a few more. So we have like health potions, we have magic potions, super potions, rage potions. We have like a refractor jewel, protection chalice, free fairy, resurrection idols, level tome. And we have combo bonus as well. So when you hit enemies within 1 second without yourself being hit, it will count in combo counter. The more hits you make in 1 second without being hit yourself, the greater points you get. You also get a bonus. Some combo hits are very large and can only be achieved by using super attack or having a refractor bonus, or both, with many enemies on the screen. There's also something called a last ditch bonus, so players and certain enemies have a last ditch bonus. This is an automatic bonus granted when their health is at 10% or less. When this bonus is granted, they are immune to attacks until they get back up. For example, Azrael will get at 1 super point and rage when he's near death. And we'll get into that when we basically into the game itself. Super magic color bonus. On the player's status bar, there are 3 purple points. Each one is a super that rises when either the player gets hit or the player attacks an enemy. Supers are performed by pressing a button 4 or pressing buttons 1, 2, 3 together. Each point of super gives the player more ability to damage, move, walk, and run faster and change the color of their magic. If you have fairies, they will also do more damage, and their orbit will increase. Sometimes it's useful not to use supers until there are more enemies because the character is already powerful. So basically the idea here is like you can hold on to your supers and get like more powerful from it, or you can basically use them as like one violent attack basically wipe out a bunch of enemies all at once, which is nice. So yeah, blue new super, cyan super level 1, violet super level 2, red super level 3, blinking rage, powerful magic and resistant to small attacks. So a lot more content here. There's moving clips and stuff like that. You can like see where basically available, but I don't think I actually like jump into them. So if I click on like the trailer here, it'll be like yeah. So not much you can do about that, unfortunately. The screenshots. Yeah, there's like some screenshots here. Controls. And there's our controls, by the way. Now, something to note about these controls, by the way. You'll note that basically when we're like, going through this stuff, there's like basic combo attacks. There's like, special attack, 1, 2. Neutral, block against attacks. Forward, block against attacks. So we actually have blocking basically in this like game now. We also have evasion, where we can basically like, jump out of the way by like, going up or going down. And of course there's also running, which is very much improved from like this one. Actions while blocking, you basically do a block advance. And you can also like, evade up or evade down while blocking as well. So there's that too. Okay, so the characters. So returning from like, the original like, Mashing War is basically Azrael and Ren. But there's also a new character called Lucette, the halfling fighter. So going through these like guys a little bit here, you have like the servant of Avenstal, Azrael the Drow fighter. He seeks to prove himself and to obey his master's last command, to rid the world of the elvish invaders. His race is called Drow, but he is not an elf, considered a pale but gothic human. So, note basically you can see like these guys' power levels, so you immediately see his weapon, his cleaver sword, his last his rage bonus. He's got 3 of 6 stamina, he's got 6 of 6 strength, 3 of 6 speed, and 4 of 6 magic. There's his color, so red, brown, purple, green, and there's his like, actions. And note by the way, these guys all have different actions they can see sort of do. So there's like, Azrael's actions, and we get down to Ren, who's got like his own actions. And, note that basically like for one he's got like a hold 2 for electric strike. And like he's got, vast grav again. So lots of different stuff. And Lucette basically has her own different stuff. So there's Ren, the human paladin. Servant of the High Priest, a noble fighter whose mission is to find evil wherever it hides and destroy it for the sake of all that is good. My headset cut out there for a moment, but note this little bit right here. His loyal apprentice is Thomas, whom he saved from Grisgard. He has a secret third super attack. Do you know what it is and how to use it? So yeah, note basically from like the story for like Mashing War, that like first like scene basically in like Mashing War, basically like fighting the barbarians and stuff like that, and like the warlord. Basically that guy is basically like the boss like Ren basically fights and he actually rescues like Thomas basically from him. So that's basically like canon to like the story. Down here we have Lucette. So Lucette, halfling fighter. Feeling helpless at the death of her parents, she chose to empower herself by training and traveling with Evelyn, so that she can protect everyone she loves. Her race is halfling, which means half human and half unknown. The unknown part is guessed to be elvish. Unknown part as well, I haven't really been knowing it, but note these guys like all have like different sort of stats, like 3, 6, 3, 4 for like actual stats, and like Lucette basically has like 4, 3, 6, 3 for her stats, so she's got very good speed, but like less strength. She has like a little bit better stamina than like Azrael basically over here, but weaker magic. And I know like Ren here has basically got like 4, 4, 4, and 3, so Ren is very, very average, shall we say, but whatever. He's got like the the super attacks you sort of like make up for if you know what they are. Alright, so there's one more thing to basically show off here, so the story. So there's a glossary down here, and then there's like the story. So, story prologue. A high paladin who lacked virtue was banished years ago to an island of outcasts. His traitorous plan to overthrow the king of Durrdain had failed. Princess Kai, showing him mercy, had stayed his execution, but it was not long until there were reports of strange happenings on that island. Those who set sail to investigate had disappeared in the ocean's peril, including a large party of paladins and knights. There was no doubt to the king that Foss was responsible for these acts. So, the king sent Stratolator, a master paladin and seer, trained in both light magic from the high priest and dark arts from the Drow. Along with him, a ravenous bounty hunter named Leoric, with unmatched marksmanship. Their secret mission was to find Foss and kill him outright, using stealth and precision. It did not go according to plan, far from it. Azrael had used all his might to bring down the elf Oberette, while Ren and its paladins had laid the final blow with the Ring of Fire. Princess Kai was saved, but Oberut was only the beginning of something that humans had never faced before. The princess returned to her castle to find a familiar face. Alright, so here's the story glossary. So, I'll note basically in the original game, Azure was basically called Imagine, but now it's basically called Dro, because I guess they're using more like, human, Western terms basically for it. So, Dro. In this story, Dro are human black magic users, also known as Goths. They are an ancient human race, living sometimes in hidden subterranean areas, and continue to hold ties to magic. Normal humans have a religious aversion to magic, considering it extremely blasphemous. Because of this, Dro are considered enemies of the people. They normally have sickly white skin and dark hair. There are not many Dro left. We have elves. This race of people live on another world they called Isel. Normally much more powerful than humans because of their enhanced senses. They also use magic naturally, even as a child. We have paladins. These are a group of knights who work for the church. They are the only group who can legally use magic, giving them a great advantage over normal people. Like knights, they are taught to be virtuous, but still must enforce the laws with a sword. And then we have like halfling here, so generally meaning any person whose mother and father were two different races such as elf and human. Elves quickly consider these types of people outcasts and abominations. Alright, so that's basically like a sort of like, a little bit like an expert basically from like, the homepage basically here for like, this game. And a little bit of like, my background basically with it. I've only been going on for about like 60 minutes, so I figured at this point we're going to jump into a little bit of Rage of Magic 2. Let's just expand the screen here a little bit. Start her up. Yeah, arcadetown.com because they're part of this. And Game Room Entertainment is the company behind it. Alright, so there's Rage of Magic 2, full version 1.46. As presented by T. Suryap. Press any button to continue. Alright, so before I continue here, I just have to pause recording, so one moment. Look at the demonstrations in our time. Alright, so where was I? So I was basically planning to show you guys off, like, the tutorials for this game. On no bar, if you basically jump into the arcade mode, there basically is, like, sort of like, a quick tutorial. So break all 6 barrels. Basically get like, break down how you can move, what the buttons basically are. Yes, break A to combo attack. S to magic attack. There's my panic attack. A and S to special attack. ASD to super attack. Press F1 for help. Alright, so on note base, there's a couple of things you can see it's different about like this, this game versus like Majin War. First thing first, this guy now has like a jump attack like this as opposed to like, his standard, attacks like that. There is no jump key in this one. There is no jump, I don't think, besides like, through like a combat move.
Yeah.
And I know to kind of sort of like jump diagonally if I want to. Also, when you run around like this, you can actually change directions a little bit. Alright. Press W to do like your super move. Alright, so that's basically like, the arcade, like, mandatory tutorial to sort of like, get you into the game as quickly as possible. But there is actually an extra tutorial basically to go into. Like an actual, like, tutorial that, like, is actually in the game itself. So, pick a character to start a tutorial with. Yeah, no problem. Eventually, you can like get like allies and stuff like that, but whatever. Tutorial mode: how to learn how to battle. So, Aaron, hi. We're here to teach you how to play this game. Press the A key to continue. Lena says, remember that anytime you can press the escape for options and the F1 key for help. Yeah, so you can press the escape key, get like your like options. So there's like a breakdown like the keys and stuff. A is for combo back, S is for magic attack, D is for panic attack, W is for super attack. And then of course if there's a player 2, they use the numpad, I guess. There's a configuration and stuff like that. So note that you have like all the stuff in here. But there's like a full screen and like a window mode. But there's also something called like game settings. You can actually adjust like the game speed, the difficulty, and also like that in here. Currently it's on normal. I might boost this up to hard because why not? Type speed. I can make this like max. Three colors always on or off. You can also like remap your keys if you want to. For both characters or controllers. Now, no problem, this is like a game that has like 512 by 384 is like one of like the defaults for the screen size. Currently this is on like 640 by 480. And of course, if I basically like change it down to like 640, but or like to DR1, basically that's what it basically shrunk to. There's like the actual size. Scale of fish, show of blood, all sorts of nice stuff in here. Button mapping again. You can actually map your joysticks if you have them as well. Let's keep this up. To walk around, press up, down, left, or right. To block, just stand still or walk forward. Yeah, blocking is a thing. Depending who you choose, you can only block a certain amount of damage. So yeah, note that these characters like they basically play. They some are like made to be more aggressive, and some are made to be like more like capable of blocking. That's important to note for later on. You'll actually see why against one of the bosses. At the moment you block, you can press A button to push the enemy back. So basically, like do like a pushback attack. Also, at that moment, you can press the up or down keys to evade for attacks. You're going to dodge it away. You can evade in other ways by pressing any direction key twice, button twice fast. Press up twice or down twice to side hop, evade, and press back or twice to run fast or slow. There's running, evasion. For a simple combo attack, press more than once or hold down the A button.
Strike.
Press the S button to launch a magic attack. It will reduce your magic power.
Baslam!
Alright, so note the enemies just went green. It is worth knowing that basically, like Majin War, it only had like human enemies you're basically fighting. If you don't like include like the elf over it, this game actually has a lot more like westernized type of like fancy races like orcs and trolls and stuff like that. All right, so Aaron, use the D button when there are lots of enemies and you're in a big panic. So basically, use your panic attack.
Baslam!
If you use all your magic, you'll get hurt and be open to attack. So don't get caught. Yeah, don't like use all your magic. It hurts. You can do a special attack by pressing the A and S buttons at the same time.
Strike!
There's a special attack. Special attacks usually have better range than normal attacks but are slow. The purple bars are for super attacks. It increases when you get hit or hit your enemies. The super goes down over time and has 3 levels. Press ASD to do a super. So there's a super. That's the end of the tutorial, but there's lots more secrets for you to unlock. Thanks for playing and supporting our game. We really appreciate it. There's some potions.
Baslam!
But I should probably note that there is actually like, different types of like, super attacks you can basically do. Like there's super fast flam.
Strike! 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 Strike!
Now, it's probably worth knowing you can also see that these guys have health bars and stuff like that.
Strike! Strike!
Also, the area will actually run diagonally as well, so there's that too.
Strike! 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 Baslam! Baslam! Strike! Strike!
There's one of his like, attacks for Ren.
Strike!
There's like electro blow like that. Now, I'm just trying to remember, but, we'll have to answer the phone call, so be right back once more. So many interruptions today. I'm having a ton of fun with all these like interruptions, but whatever. Alright, where was I? It's basically in the tutorial here. I won't be in here too long, but I figure I want to basically show off, like, some like the super attacks this guy can do, so...
Strike!
Not that one. Yeah, I'll notice like different like, super attacks you basically do. Depending on like your orientation with the enemies.
Strike!
Let's try, figure out, Ren's basically like, he's got like one where he basically like stabs forward
Strike!
as a super attack.
Strike! 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 Baslam!
Well, I gotta figure out in the gameplay itself, but whatever.
Baslam!
Also, note by way of like the super attacks. You saw it was basically red right there. Second one's purple. Last one's blue. And if I like, see it in like a super speed, I get knocked back instead. Yeah, that's just basically like, the sort of like standing still super, you have like the vast flam super. there's also like a super, you basically sort of like strike forward with, like,
Strike.
strike, basically.
Strike. Sira. Strike. Sira. Strike. Sira.
Well, whatever. Enough of this for now. Now, not by the way, at this point of like practice mode here, and that's basically what I'm in right now, practice mode. So you have like, the tutorial day for like practice mode, player versus, fight shows, and everything else in here. Note by the way that like, some stuff is basically locked until like I get far enough into the game, basically unlock it. So, Lucetta's basically a character I can play, but she's not currently available to me. And we don't have access to two-player yet. We'll also unlock a lot of like, player like versus stuff as well. Fight shows, image gallery. So not just like, cover art, Astro's profile, Ren's profile, and stuff like that. That'll basically get into. Now, I suppose before like, we sort of like just finish off of this stuff here, this like, opening episode. Here's the credits for the game. So Rage Magic 2 is by Game Brew Inc. this time around. The producer was T. Suryap Tehep, I guess. Now, I want to basically show you guys these credits because it's kind of interesting to go over who basically helped with this game. More or less because of the simple fact that I think there's some names that people might like recognize from here. So you have like T. Suryap in here, of course, but you also have like other people in here like Derek Yu, who I believe is responsible for like Spelunky. You have voices, so T. Suryap, Chi Suryap, Meiko Machiha. There's the music by MacaMusic.info. And thank you. Thank you for supporting my independently developed game. I've worked very hard for 3 years to bring you something fun. Visit the Rage Magic website to find lots of fun facts and stories. Don't forget any fan store for cool pirate posters and other goodies. And let's exit the game here. Alright, so now to sort of like sort of end this like little like opening episode for like Rage Magic 2. I want to note that basically Rage Magic 2 was not really a commercial success for this offer, and he actually had made a comment to me, and you can actually see in TV tropes, he didn't actually financially get like a return basically back from making this game. I believe he paid more for his pixel artist than he did getting returns back basically. So it's just a part of the game making for his game that it wasn't very successful, but yet I do think it's very fun, and I hope to basically tell people about, because I think this is actually a game that's really worth looking into. I thought that it had a lot of good ideas. It did a lot of cool stuff, but whatever. We'll get to the actual gameplay next. But for now, take care.